what's up guys? My name is Tristan, and I'm here with Arthur. We are from the FTC team 20344, the Cattlebots. And today we're going to discuss this FTC season's scoring guidelines for Decode. Although the FTC season has already started, and many teams around the world have participated in various competitions, we want to provide clarification to those who are still confused or overwhelmed with the game manual. Without further ado, let's get into it.
The first 30 seconds of the game, also known as the autonomous period, are when robots are pre-programmed to do set actions rather than taking human input. Robots have 3 preloaded artifacts they can score from either the far or close launching zones, which are denoted by white tape. Robots can also intake more balls from their side of the field and shoot those for points. Each artifact that passes through the classifier earns 3 points. If the classifier is full, any balls scored are considered overflow and will only give 1 point. There's also an obelisk in the middle outside of the field that every game has a randomly selected motif. Robots can scan the April tag on these obelisks to gain a pattern that the balls must be scored in. This is only considered at the very end of autonomous. Each artifact that is scored in the correct pattern will earn 2 additional points per ball.
After the 30 seconds, robots will enter into the driver-operated section for 2 minutes, where robots will shoot artifacts into the depot, earning 3 points per classified artifact. In the last 20 seconds, drivers will enter into the endgame, where they can continue scoring or park in their respective base zones.
Now, moving on to ranking points. Ranking points determine your leaderboard position in events and qualify you for playoff matches, which are elimination based. There are 4 types of ranking points. The first of these is winning alliance ranking point, which just requires you to win your match. This is the most important ranking point and will give you 3 ranking points. However, you can still gain ranking points even if you lose your match. The first way to do this is through the movement ranking point, which combines your points scored in auto leaves and teleop parks. And these points have to cross a certain threshold, which is a minimum of 16, but may vary during different events. And this will give you 1 ranking point. The second type is goal ranking points, which just require you to score upwards of 36 artifacts total in auto and teleop to get 1 ranking point. And this also varies depending on the event. And lastly, we have the pattern ranking point, which takes the number of balls you scored in the correct motif order at the end of auto and teleop combined. And if that number crosses the threshold, you will get 1 ranking point.
Rankings are based on who is the highest in certain categories, and some categories take precedence over others. If categories are in a tie, it falls into the next category in the sequence that is not a tie.
Now we move on to fouls. Now fouls are very important to keep in mind, especially for this year, because it is very easy to accumulate them and lose your matches because you're giving your opponent points every time you commit a foul. Now, minor fouls give your opponent 5 points, and major fouls give your opponents 15 points. And this can really turn the tides of a match. So that's why we're going to go over some common fouls.
Starting from auto, minor fouls include choosing a different auto once randomization starts. For example, if you have an auto set for a certain motif, you cannot choose it after knowing the randomized pattern. And the movement of subsystems other than the drivetrain in the grace period between auto and teleop will also induce a minor foul. Now, a major foul includes the movement of the drivetrain during the grace period between auto and teleop. And it also can be induced from impeding an opponent's autonomous path.
All right, now moving on to teleop fouls, which is really where those points can rack up. So, starting with minor fouls, some of these include launching artifacts outside of launching zones, but not making it into the goal. That will give you a minor foul. Controlling more than 3 artifacts for a certain amount of time will give you a minor foul. And pinning a robot for more than 3 seconds will give you a minor foul. And each additional second after that will give you even more minor fouls. So that's something to beware of. Major fouls for teleop can include intentionally ejecting artifacts for purposes other than scoring. So basically just shooting artifacts without the intent of actually making it in your goal. That will give you a major foul. Launching artifacts that make it into the goal, but you're outside of the launching zone, that will give you a major foul. Launching artifacts into another alliance's goal or gate will give you a major foul. And this is a big one: opening the gate or interfering with the ramp of another alliance will give you a major foul for every single artifact that is descored. And that can really rack up 90 or so points if the classifier is pretty close to being full and turn the tides of an entire game.
Endgame minor fouls are all of the following minor fouls from teleop, or continuing to move your robot and or not setting down controllers after the timer buzzes. And major fouls during endgame are all of the following major fouls from teleop, or entering into an opponent's base zone, or also known as the parking area.
All right, now moving on to human player fouls. Anytime the human player is holding on to more than 6 artifacts outside of the field, a minor fall will be given. So you have to really make sure that when the helpers are bringing artifacts to your human player zone that fell outside of the field, make sure that if you ever have more than 6, take them out and put them back in the field so you don't get that minor foul. And if an artifact and the robot are touching while a human player is holding the artifact, this will give you a minor foul. So if you're putting artifacts into your robot, make sure to drop them in and not like touch the ball while the ball is touching the robot. Now, some common misconceptions. When artifacts are coming into the tunnel, they have to be completely out of the gate to be intake. This is called the transitive contact rule, and it's been getting a lot of teams, especially during auto pathing, where they're going to the gate and intaking balls, but that ball is still not fully outside of the gate. This also counts during teleop. That will be a minor foul, so watch out for that. You can also roll artifacts into robots in the loading zone, but if artifacts roll out of the loading zone, that will count as a minor foul, so beware of that.
Finally, some tips. Drivers, be wary of time. Coaches should warn you before 20 seconds so that your driver that controls the drivetrain should never cross the opposing alliance area. Only in emergencies or malfunctions, play defensive. Other than that, you should rely on being offensive by scoring artifacts, because mainly playing defense can cost your alliance fouls. Make sure that both your drive team and your alliance are knowledgeable about the rules before every single match.
All right, guys, that's going to be it. We went over scoring, fouls, ranking points, and other misconceptions in one concise video to clear up any confusion about the rules you guys might have. If you guys have any more questions, you can leave them down in the comments or check the official 2026 FTC Decode Manual for further clarification on any of the rules. And on behalf of Team 20344, the Cattlebots, good luck!